Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
What if the two people you trusted most in your life were secretly plotting death?
With poison, a shovel, and text messages that would unravel everything.
This is the murder of Kevin Mengel. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of Stop Who Does That. I'm your host, Jackie.
And I'm Jenna.
And we hope everyone is having a great week. I am very tired, Jenna. I don't know about you. I had to work late last night, but we are still fitting in our time to record for you guys. How about you, Jenna?
Yeah. I'm just having the busiest, craziest week ever. Busy weekend. The month of March for me is so busy with a lot of birthdays and things going on. Appointments and stuff at the office. It's only March 10th, but it might as well be March 30th. It feels so busy.
No. What's that saying? March comes in like a lion, out like a lamb. I always feel like it is the longest month of the year. To me, it always feels that way. But we have some warm weather here in Pennsylvania. It is going to be 76 degrees today. It wasn't that long ago. It was exactly a month ago on my birthday. It was like, 7 degrees?
Yes.
As a high? Yeah. So
thank God we're getting some warmer weather here. We need it, and we need that sunshine.
I feel like the serotonin is just coursing through my body right now.
It puts everybody in a good mood.
It does.
So spring is around the corner, and so is the summer, which is my favorite time of year, so can't wait.
Well, speaking of what's around the corner, Jenna, do you want to tell everyone what we're going to be doing in just a few weeks?
Yeah, basically 1 month from today, April 10th, we will be going to Beyond the Crime in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we will be doing a live podcast. We decided to do the live podcast on Jamie Sylvanic. So if you want to catch up on that, we did that episode back in January. Please catch up on that. And we'll be recording on Saturday, the 11th at 12:30. So if you're on that side of the country or you want to get tickets to come out to support us, you would go to beyondthecrime.com and enter code beyond-stop. That's the code. It's going to be a great time. We're really excited about it, and we hope you guys could join us.
Yes, we are very excited. We are getting merch ready for this journey across the country. If we have any merch left over, please let us know if you'd like to buy any from us. We've got air fresheners, which I thought was a great idea because you're in your car listening to us. So we always have that reminder to put us on. Jenna's getting some pepper spray made with keychains. What else do we have?
We'll be doing some t-shirts and some pop sockets. And we'll have a bunch of stuff to hand out as well to anyone walking by. We're also doing a raffle. So just a bunch of cool things. And we'll be posting about all of it on our social media. So make sure you're following us at Stop Who Does That podcast on Instagram.
And just one more thing before we get into it. As you know, we are a member of the Darkcast Podcast Network. And at this conference, we will also have Missing in the Pacific Northwest there, as well as the final trace. Our tables will be together back to back. So it'll be a little Darkcast Network corner. So come out and meet us.
Yeah, great.
Well, today we are diving into a case that is as calculated as it is heartbreaking. What began as a troubled marriage slowly unraveled into manipulation, betrayal, and a meticulously planned murder. A devoted father who believed he was fighting to hold his family together, while behind the scenes, a plan to eliminate him was already in motion. This is the case of murderess Morgan Mengel.
Morgan Marie Wixson, who would later become known as Morgan Mengel, was born on September 25th, 1875 in Pennsylvania. Much of her early childhood remains undocumented, but the fragments that do exist paint a picture of instability. Those close to her have described a turbulent family environment, one marked by tension and emotional strain. It wasn't the kind of upbringing that quietly fades into the background of a life story. It shaped who she was. As Morgan moved into her teenage years, that instability seemed to surface outwardly. She developed a rebellious streak, pushing boundaries, challenging authority, and resisting the expectations her parents had for her. Her family, particularly the Wixons, hoped she would eventually settle into a stable, grounded future, which is something I think all parents want for their children. They want them to get a good job and maybe get married. And that's what they wanted for Morgan, despite her kind of reckless, wild life that she had been living up until this point. Morgan seemed determined to carve her own path, even if it clashed with her parents. By the late 1990s, her life would intersect with someone who, on paper, presented everything steady and traditional, just like her parents envisioned for her. In 1997, Morgan met Kevin Mengel Jr., a Pennsylvania native just a year younger than she was. Kevin had been born on July 2nd, 1876 in Springfield, Pennsylvania. 3 children born to Kevin Mengel Sr. and Kathleen. His father, affectionately known as Kevin Sr., was a well-respected businessman in the community. And for much of Kevin's childhood, the family appeared tightly knit and stable. Kevin grew up alongside his siblings, Christopher and Michelle, in what many would describe as a structured, traditional household. But by the time Kevin graduated high school in 1995, that image of stability had shifted. His parents amicably separated and moved on to new relationships. His father relocated to Downingtown with his second wife, while his mother married Dr. Richard Barton and settled in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Kevin experienced the fracture of his parents' marriage. Those who knew him described him as ambitious and resilient. Rather than becoming hardened by the separation, he seemed driven by it. Kevin's dream was simple, but deeply personal. He wanted to build a close-knit family of his own, a stable one, the kind that endures. When he met Morgan Mengel, he believed that he had found the partner who shared that vision. Their early relationship was marked by affection and what appeared to be a strong emotional connection. To outsiders, they seemed like 2 young adults shaped by complicated family histories, perhaps both trying to create something better than what they had experienced growing up. On the surface, it looked like the beginning of a hopeful love story, but that couldn't be farther from the truth.
I just have to say, it sounds like Kevin was an amazing man and like a knight in shining armor to Morgan.
Yeah. It seems like, when they say girls like bad boys and nice guys finish last, it kind of
It's the opposite here. Like,
Yeah.
she's the bad girl and he's the good guy, and he's
it
kind
just
of
seems
calming her down.
Yeah, that's kind of how it seems.
Yeah. Well, about a year into their relationship, the first real red flag appeared. During a family gathering with Kevin's relatives, someone noticed that Morgan appeared to have a visibly rounded belly. Naturally, the question came up, was she pregnant? Morgan immediately brushed it off, insisting she was just bloated. She denied being pregnant altogether. But wait, there's more. The very next day, Morgan delivered a baby girl. That's right. The very next day, after the family gathering where she denied being pregnant. Now, I know it's possible that some women just don't know they're pregnant, but Morgan knew she was pregnant. Right, Jenna?
Yeah, and I just don't know how you could hide that from your husband and entire family.
I mean, some people don't want to say anything until they know everything's okay. I don't know what her motive there was.
Either. Was she just like in extreme denial? Like maybe she just totally disassociated from it and was in denial.
It's possible.
and then she just goes up and delivers the baby the next day.
I mean, this is almost like foreshadowing her ability to keep things close to the vest.
Vest.
Right? Vest. Okay.
Yeah.
This just kind of shows that she can keep things close to the vest and almost live in a different reality, if you will. So let's just keep this in the back of our minds as we go through our story. The suddenness of this birth stunned Kevin's family. Morgan maintained that she hadn't known she was pregnant, a claim that left many confused and unsettled. For most families, the birth of a first child brings excitement, preparation, and anticipation, but this moment felt different. Morgan's reaction lacked the typical joy or enthusiasm, while Kevin, in contrast, was reportedly thrilled. For him, this was the beginning of everything he had dreamed about, the chance to build the close-knit family he had always wanted. Shortly after the baby was born, Morgan and Kevin married. What began unexpectedly now became official. They were no longer just two young adults navigating a relationship, they were a family. After their wedding, Kevin poured himself into building a future. He started a landscaping business with Morgan assisting in the operations. Over time, their family grew. They welcomed two more children, two boys. Kevin was deeply devoted to his children, even naming his business using their initials as a tribute to them. It was more than branding. It was a symbol of how much he centered his identity around fatherhood. So it was this business that leads to how I came to know this story. So when I was in college, I worked at a bank in the town that they lived and interacted with Morgan, actually. Around the time of the murder, I do recall seeing her come into the bank to do some deposits. And I remember her looking a bit disheveled that weekend and just very much on edge. For whatever reason, that day I saw her just always stood out to me. And it was a few weeks later when the story broke. And I remember all of us at the bank kind of talking about it, and we were freaking out because our names could be on deposit slips and things like that. And we were like, oh, are they going to subpoena us for whatever reason during the court proceedings? So yeah, I have actually met Morgan.
I know, that's wild.
I know, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But I digress. Over time, rumors began circulating about Morgan's infidelity. There were whispers of relationships with some of Kevin's own friends. For Kevin, the betrayal was devastating. Yet, despite the heartbreak, he chose to stay. Those close to him believed he was motivated by one central priority: maintaining stability for his children. He was willing to absorb personal pain if it meant preserving a united home. By 2009, the strain in the marriage was no longer subtle. Morgan left the family home multiple times, staying with her mother, but each time she returned. Friends described the relationship as increasingly volatile, marked by instability and tension that seemed to escalate rather than resolve. That same year, Kevin reconnected with his father, repairing old bonds that had weakened over time. As his marriage faltered, his relationship with his father strengthened. It offered him support, perspective, and maybe even hope. Because despite everything, Kevin still clung to the belief that his marriage could be saved, that unity was still possible, and that for the sake of his children, somehow, they could hold it together.
They kind of remind me of, I feel like we've all known that couple who's like fighting like all the time, like in public.
Yes.
You go out and they're always causing drama, like you meet
Back
them
and
out
forth.
and it always ends in a fight. And it's like they're that couple. That's what I picture when I think of Kevin and Morgan. And you know, she probably also was out. I could picture her like going out to the bars and like doing her own thing and leaving him at home with the kids. I think she like took advantage of his kindness and
Yeah.
you know, he loved his children, and I think that she just kind of always was this person.
Rebellious.
I don't think marriage changed her.
It's weird because when we were reading her description of her as a teen, the first thing that came to mind was oppositional defiance disorder. And you know, just having that proclivity to being defiant and wanting to do things your way and defying authority. And I feel like They do say that if you're diagnosed with oppositional defiance in your teen years, that later you develop antisocial personality disorder as an adult, which I feel like is kind of evidenced here a bit.
Uh-huh.
And again, I'm not diagnosing her, but it just brings that to mind as we talk about her personality. And again, my interaction with her was always brief, but she seemed like an outgoing person. So she definitely had that charm about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the marriage was already kind of
On
faltering at this
rocks.
point. There was already rumors about her being unfaithful, and, it just wasn't at a good place. So now it's 2010, and Kevin hires a new employee at the landscaping business, Stephen Shapelle. Kevin and Steve got along great, and Kevin really trusted him and appreciated all of his hard work in the business, and they became really good friends as well as coworkers. That summer, June 20, Kevin planned a big family party for Father's Day. He planned the entire thing. This was like his party. He invited everyone, and, we got everyone together. He was looking forward to spending time with his own father, which we said they repaired their relationship, and what better way to spend time together than Father's Day. So this party's supposed to take place. It's now Father's Day, time for the big party. As the day went on, and the hours passed, Kevin never showed up for the Father's Day party, the party that he organized.
Wow.
His family quickly grew concerned because this was out of character for Kevin. We have dads and, children and stuff. And it's like, if somebody's like your dad or your grandpa is organizing this big Father's Day bash and they don't show up to their own party that they organized, I think every single person there is going to be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I mean,
Whereas,
that's a huge red flag. Also, not to get ahead of ourselves, but if you're going to plan this, why would you do that when you know he's organized a party? Like, that's not going to throw up a huge red flag to everyone.
yeah, this is one of the more strange things I think we've come across if you're trying to cover something up. That this is every single person at that party is going to be alarmed.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. So as the day went on, Kathleen, Kevin's mom, received a text message from Morgan stating they wouldn't be attending the party. Now, this is hours after the party was already started. She said, quote, they wouldn't be attending the party, quote, due to unforeseen circumstances. After receiving this text, Kevin's family felt something was very off. They began calling and texting him with no response. Kathleen eventually contacted the police and reported Kevin missing. This escalated, and his family wasted no time. They
Good for them.
knew, like,
Something's
getting a
not
text
right.
saying unforeseen circumstances, we won't be
Who
coming.
says? I mean, that right there
I
is
agree.
not normal for someone's wife to say something like that to her husband's mother. Like, why wouldn't you give more details than that? Like, if something
like
happened
we're
to
having
my
a family and
husband,
we're
yeah, I'd be like I would text his mom and be like, oh my gosh, he fell down the stairs. We have to go to the hospital. Like,
yeah,
something. I'd give more details.
it's just so cold.
It is.
Really goes to show how little effort she even put in to like these excuses, because
Right.
she just didn't care.
Right. Exactly.
They received, the text. They called the police Monday. Then this is the next morning, Monday morning, the day after Father's Day. Police officers arrived at Kevin and Morgan's apartment. When the officers encountered Morgan, they were met with a woman who appeared surprisingly calm. Despite the growing concern from Kevin's loved ones, Morgan presented herself as composed and unbothered. She didn't appear frantic. She didn't seem confused. She didn't act like a wife whose husband had vanished. Her demeanor left both authorities and family members unsettled, especially given that Kevin's disappearance had come without warning. So he wasn't there at the apartment. And basically, the police were saying she didn't seem bothered or worried whatsoever. Like,
yeah, I mean, when I interacted with her that weekend, like I said, she seemed disheveled. She seemed nervous, but still calm and cool and collected enough to like have a a little brief conversation. And I distinctly remember, I'll never forget this. She mentioned like going to pick the kids up from the pool. Like it's been so many years and I still remember
Yeah.
her saying that. So it's like you're running the kids around and all this stuff, like, and this is going on. And then we'll get into the text
Yeah.
messages and it's just
Like,
crazy to reconcile this all
like,
at the same time.
it's not here. Well, I don't know, whatever.
I'm
So
just gonna live my life. Yeah.
you might be asking yourself, like, what did the police think about this response? And what did she have to say when
Yeah.
she was questioned? So she produced several text messages claiming they were from Kevin. According to her, Kevin had needed a break. He said he was overwhelmed by work pressure and simply needed time alone. She told officers he had asked her to temporarily take over the landscaping business while he stepped away to clear his head. Taking a page from Alan Gould's playbook with our very first deep dive of Anna Maciejewska, the texting from another person's phone, that's to make it appear that they're alive.
Yeah.
That's what she was doing. She was texting from Kevin's phone to her phone, had both phones there, making it look like he was alive and sending her text messages. That's what Alan did from Anna's phone, took Anna's phone and texted her family so they would think she's alive. It bought him a few weeks. I mean, till people.
She really thinks she could just play it off like he just abandoned the family. Like
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
to take over the business? Like, just take over my bit. No, man. I
no
work with
man
a
is
lot.
leaving. No,
I work
he's
with a
not
lot of
leaving money on the
business owners.
table like that. Hell no.
Business owners don't up and leave their business. Maybe
No.
they'll leave their wife or their girlfriend, but they ain't gonna leave their business. I'll tell you that much. They are not that their business is the number one important thing to them. So that's just a huge like red flag to police.
Mhm.
Like he just stepped away from his business too. I don't think so. But believe it or not, when she showed the texts, the officers believed her because, like you said, Jackie, she was very charming. She probably had some narcissistic qualities.
Yep.
Very calm, cool, collected to authority.
Mhm.
Very charming. So, because of her delivery of all of this, the police believed her at first, and they were like, "Okay, sounds good to us. Nothing wrong here," and they left.
Well, think about it too. Like, if she was like a psychopath, for example, they don't feel guilt.
No.
They don't feel anything. So to make yourself seem nervous, you'd have to have some sort of guilt or paranoia. But in her, she has none of that. So she has no reason to stand there and act nervous
Yeah,
and to be calm, cool, and collected because she does not have the capability of feeling.
like Corey Richins.
Yeah, right. Like you don't feel it. So why would you act nervous? The root of nervousness is feeling like I've done something wrong.
Yeah, right. So the officers were like, "Cool, sounds good to us," and they told Kevin's family, "Well, we saw the text. Like he needed some time alone." But Kevin's family was like, "No, no, 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 no. He would never do that. We know him. He loves his children. He's a proud business owner. He wouldn't leave the business, and he would definitely never leave his children." So
Yeah.
because they're saying the responses that they were getting from Kevin's quote Kevin's phone were
Yeah.
very short, very abrupt, filled with abbreviations and phrases that didn't sound like him. Like,
Right.
the way someone texts. And they were like,
Yes.
"This is so weird. Like, he would never use these phrases. He would never abbreviate like this." So they went back to the police and said, "You have got to look more into this. This is not right."
I think I probably say this every episode, but it's like mind blowing to me that if you're going to go this far with a plan, you don't think to try to write the way your husband wrote and that the way you write can throw things off to people.
Yeah, I mean, Jackie, I could text how you text, no problem. We text so often. I know your texting style. I know how you abbreviate,
Right.
and I know how you respond. So you're
Right.
telling me like she was married to Kevin for how many
And
years?
couldn't imitate how he writes. Also, when we get into her text messages, and I'll share the screen so people watching on YouTube can actually see how she types. I mean, she writes like a 5-year-old. She writes like the letter C and then the letter U, see you then. Like it's very choppy and you could just tell she's not well educated. And I guarantee you Kevin probably wrote more well-constructed sentences. So that was like immediate red flag to a lot of people because she was very, very prone to using abbreviations.
Yep.
So the story, I'm sure you're wondering, what is Morgan telling people? Is that on June 15th, her and Kevin had an argument and he left the house. And she's trying to sell it to the police that he needed to clear his head after this argument and he left me in charge of the business. I don't think a man would have a fight with his woman and then be like, run the business for me. Let me go clear my head, just like we talked about. But within a week,
And he had that party that was 5 days before the big Father's Day party. So
right, you're just gonna not execute a party you planned, and you're gonna leave your business to your woman that you just had a fight with,
yeah,
and who's
right.
been in and out of the house the last year. So things are you're on rocky territory here. You're gonna leave it to her. Okay, sure, Jan. Within a week, investigators found out something that shifted the entire focus of this case. And that is Morgan was involved with another man, but not just any other man. This was Stephen Shapelle, the 21-year-old employee who worked for Kevin. 13 years younger than Morgan, Stephen wasn't just a random person. It was someone that Kevin trusted. Think about this. Like, you take on this younger guy that's starting out in landscaping and you think you're taking him under your wing. You're giving him a place to work. You're teaching him everything you know. And behind your back, your wife and him are having an affair. I feel like it happens a lot. We hear about it all the time, but we still have to say, who does that, right? Like, who does
does
that to someone?
The ultimate betrayal. Just like,
I can't think of any other way you could hurt someone close to you, but to do that behind their back. And again, just like she hid the pregnancy, she easily hid this from her husband, from everybody else around her, because she's no stranger to keeping secrets and lying. When asked about Stephen's presence in their lives, Morgan claimed Kevin valued Steve's friendship and trusted him to care for the children. Oh, well, I'm sure you're going to trust a 21-year-old with your kids. She introduced him to the kids as Uncle Steve. But Kevin's family began noticing something very different. Morgan and Steve were openly affectionate in public. They were spending increasing amounts of time together. And perhaps most shocking of all, Steve was frequently driving Morgan's truck. I think I do remember that truck, by the way. Police brought Steve in for questioning. Under pressure, he admitted to having an affair with Morgan, and he told detectives that Morgan pursued him by praising him, building him up, flirting, drawing him into a relationship. Oh, it's always the woman's fault too, right? Like, she just liked me too much and I just had to do it. Takes two to tango, bro. You knew she was married. Anyway, he did talk about their intimate encounters, but he insisted Kevin had no idea any of this was going on. So I'm sure investigators are probably thinking, did Kevin know about this and go missing because he couldn't handle what was going on? Is that why he ran away to clear his head? Shortly after they interviewed Steve, Kevin's mother, Kathleen, received an unusual request from Morgan. Morgan asked her to take the kids for a few days. On its own, it might not have seemed alarming, but given the circumstances, this surely raised some red flags. Because shouldn't Morgan's focus right now be on finding her husband or, I don't know, like managing the business, not wanting to dump her kids off on somebody? Concerned that Morgan might be preparing to run away, Kevin's brother Chris, along with several friends, began quietly monitoring Morgan's apartment. I already like these people. I already like them. This is a great family, Jenna.
I know.
They knew something was up with her ass and they were going to find out what it was.
They never liked her. I bet they
probably didn't.
never liked her.
And I get that.
I
I get that vibe from Corey Richards' family too.
Yes.
Her husband's family.
Yeah.
That they never liked her. And the moment something happened to him, they knew it was her. And that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. Morgan was so manipulative of Steve, like Corey Richards was to her boyfriend.
Absolutely. It's just the parallels here are just stark. So on the early morning hours of June 24th, the family watched Chris and some friends. They watched as Steve exited the apartment, Morgan's apartment, carrying a bag. Moments later, Morgan followed, loading additional bags into her truck. Then they drove away, leaving the children behind.
Nice. That's real great. Just leave your young children alone while you are going to presumably be dumping a dead body.
I'm sorry. You gave birth to 3 children, and you're just going to throw them away for a 21-year-old landscaper.
Ew.
Okay. Good job, Morgan. Good job. I can't. As a mother, I can't wrap my head around that. Like, nothing would make me just forget about my children like that. No man should ever make you forget about your kids like that.
No, children always come first. If you are capable of being a mother, then
I guess not to psychopaths. I
Yeah.
don't know. They don't feel anything. Ugh. Well, Kevin's brother, what a hero. Chris immediately alerted the detectives and followed them to the landscaping business, where a detective had already been stationed in hopes of uncovering new information about Kevin's disappearance. When Morgan arrived, the back of her truck was visibly packed with clothes. Not just a few items, but she's packing to go away for a long time. A detective attempted to speak with her, but before anything could be said, Steve suddenly sped off from the truck. So he's like, we're running away. Then, in a stunning shift, Morgan suggested that Steve might have harmed Kevin. Morgan's web of lies were beginning to unravel very quickly as she is trying to shift the suspicion onto Steve.
Oh,
What a piece of shit.
that's when it happened. When people start turning on each other, that's when everything goes to shit. If you're, if you're plotting something like this.
She panicked. She knew she was screwed. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? Steve killed him, which isn't a lie, but she's obviously trying to throw them off her tracks. But also, ma'am, if you knew this guy killed your husband, why are you getting ready to run away with him? Like, we're not going to connect those dots?
She really didn't plan this out very thoroughly.
We say this like every episode, don't we? Like, they
Like-
didn't think it through. They didn't think that people would put these dots together.
Time spent plotting a murder and cover up and getaway is, because I feel like if you're going to be even remotely successful, you might be plotting it for months. I mean, like, it takes some serious time. I feel like the stories that we do, these
Yeah.
people, they might spend a couple days, couple hours in the case of Jamie Sylvanik, a couple hours plotting.
It's so spontaneous, and it kind of shows like their thinking patterns, that they're very impulsive. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of pervasive in Morgan's life, is that she was very impulsive with things that she did.
Yeah. She didn't
Oh.
put a lot of thought behind
No.
anything, not even having her children. She
No.
didn't even tell anyone about it. Okay, well, let's see
Well,
what
Jenna,
happens
they
next.
took her in. So what happened there?
So, during questioning, Morgan admitted that Steve had told her he loved her. When detectives pressed her about whether she believed Steve could have harmed Kevin, Morgan finally revealed what she described as the truth. She claimed that during an altercation, Steve struck Kevin with a shovel. Police immediately began tracking Steve's phone, attempting to locate him, because, remember, they only have Morgan right now, not Steve.
And this is 2010, so they can track phones at this
Yep.
point.
The messages revealed something far darker than a crime of passion. They exposed planning. Like we said,
Morgan, you
planning
just
is
sunk your own
planning.
battleship, honey.
I don't know how much planning, I don't know how much detail went into this, but there was some planning behind it. In those texts, Morgan and Steve discussed eliminating Kevin, taking control of the landscaping business, and raising Morgan and Kevin's children together. This wasn't impulsive. It wasn't accidental. It was premeditated. On June 16th, 2010, Steve had prepared a toxic nicotine solution in his mother's kitchen. Oh, mother's kitchen. After researching its potency online, he knew that a few drops could be lethal. I've never heard of this, Jackie, in all the cases we've done. I've never heard of a nicotine poisoning.
That's a new one.
That's a new one.
I had never heard of it until this story broke, and I was like,
He
"What?"
so
Well,
no.
we do have nicotine receptors in our brains, and if you flood them, I'll tell you what happens. I'm sure people are wondering too, how is it lethal? So, okay, so nicotine can kill you by acting as a potent neurotoxin that causes cardiovascular collapse, fatal arrhythmias, and paralysis of the muscles used for breathing. Yes, so it works by overstimulating and then blocking your nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, leading to rapid, severe toxicity from high concentration liquid nicotine. So, yeah, it floods your brain's receptors and it basically shuts down your central nervous system. So then you stop breathing.
Oh, okay. Well, taking a page from the Corey Richins handbook here with the fentanyl-laced Moscow Mule. Now this is 2010, so fentanyl wasn't really a thing back then, or readily available, I would think. So that's why I think Corey Richins went for the fentanyl, in 2022. Now this is back in 2010. They were just doing their best here, and the best they could come up with was nicotine. So, lo and behold, Kevin never got sick. So
It didn't work.
Morgan gave the solution, mixed it up in his iced tea,
Yeah.
mixed the nicotine solution into the iced tea, gave it to Kevin, but lo and behold, Kevin never got sick and he showed up for work that day. Regular old work day. So they moved to their backup plan. Yes, they had a backup plan. If the nicotine solution didn't work, they were taking a page from the landscaping murder handbook and they were just going to use a shovel. Just one of the shovels that Kevin and Steve had on the job site. So they moved to the backup plan and Steve texted Morgan that he was ready, shovel in hand, and waiting for Kevin to bend down. That's how much play-by-play they were giving with these text messages. He's texting Morgan saying, I have the shovel. I'm waiting for him to bend down. So while Kevin was trimming hedges and bent over, Steve took this opportunity and he took the shovel and he struck Kevin forcefully in the back of the head with that shovel. The blow was so violent that it shattered the shovel, Jackie. So what did Steve do? Just grabbed another shovel and kept beating him with it until Kevin was completely motionless. Afterwards, he sent Morgan a chilling text message, quote, "It's done." All of these text messages, we always say, do not send information like this over text, like ever. Oh, I can't believe people self-incriminate so
Well, you know
often.
what? It's good that they do. It's good that they do. And yeah, we can read some of them here. It's just disgusting reading it and knowing what they're about to do to Kevin. And it just makes you wish like somebody could have read these and stopped it, you know? And like he just had no idea, that poor man, like showing up to go to work, provide for his family, teaching this asshole how to be a landscaper. And he's over there in the corner texting with his wife, being like, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Here we go. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people?
He was betrayed by his wife and his friend, and his employee all at the same time. That's just horrible. And he was such a nice guy.
He gave her the world. I feel like had he not married her, like, who knows where she would have wound up. She definitely would. I mean, they probably were making decent money. Owning a business is a big deal.
And around here, a lot of the landscaping businesses in the winter, they do snow removal.
Yeah.
And if we have a bad winter, they are raking it in.
Yeah, so to give you guys an idea of the level of planning that's going on here, we can go over their text messages where they talk about the nicotine first. Here, let me share the screen. And this is from NBCnews.com, Dateline. So this was a Dateline episode, actually. So this is interesting. I'm just trying to, these are kind of like out of order. Oh, this is 9A. Okay, it's the bottom. I have to go bottom up. Yeah, she talks about him chickening out like a couple times. Right. So to give you guys an idea of how this went down, the best thing for us to do is read it. And it's not to glorify anything that they did, but to really just hone in on how disgusting these people are and just I just keep thinking of Kevin,
Mhm.
how this is all going down behind his back and he has no idea what's about to happen. So it sounds like the nicotine was put into his Snapple iced tea. And Morgan says on June 17th at 7:32 a.m. Okay, I told him I left his Snapple there. Make sure you shake it. Okay. All right, that's at 7. And then at 9:49 a.m., Morgan says to Stephen, "Okay, he drink it." Kevin,
And Steven says, little bit, about to just hit him.
and then Morgan says at 10:01, you okay?" And then 4 minutes later, she goes, "Babe."
Steven says, yeah, I'm fine. Just waiting to see if the Snapple works. Take your time with the spark plugs.
Yeah, I wonder what.
I love you.
And she goes, "I love you. You gonna chicken out?" And then now we're gonna move on to the part where he does it. It was like around 10 a.m. 17 at 10 a.m. So that was like 10:01, 10:05. Then at 10:08, Morgan says, "He drinking it?"
Steven says, yeah, kinda. Really just waiting for him to bend over. I have a shovel in my hand. Ha ha.
10:11, same minute. She goes, "Nice, babe. Great, babe. I got blank." It's the name of their child. I'm not going to say. And then Steven says,
Can you drop him at home before you come up?
"No one's home. I'll drop this off and get a check." And he says, "Okay."
Hey.
So what she's trying to do, guys, is get her children somewhere else so she can leave the house and join Steven after he does the deed to help him. So then at 10:31, Morgan writes, "Grr, you backing out?" Then Steven says at 10:39,
It's done. Get up here now.
at 10:39, "Seriously?" And then a few more minutes go by and she goes, "Answer me."
And he says, dead serious. Get up here now.
She says, "On my way." Pulse?
And Steve keeps saying, get up here now.
She goes, 3 minutes. Close the door. And then it says here that Morgan and Steven stopped text communications. And then 6 hours later, they resume their text messages. So presumably they are wrapping him up and taking care of his body. So then at 4:51, the same day they killed her husband, Steven says,
yeah, the first thing he says is, this really sucks. I don't like being away from you.
and Morgan says, "I was just thinking the same thing. I just don't want you to get tired of me always around. But right now, I would prefer you to be right next to me. I would definitely feel better."
Steve says, not gonna happen. I can't take being away from you, especially right now.
They're all, exchanging these things about how they're going to be together now that he's out of the way. And then these text messages here are from that very morning at 7 a.m. before they killed him.
So that was a little glimpse into their text conversation the minutes before and following Kevin's murder. Morgan, after Steve's repeated texting of her, get up here now, she arrived at the scene and together, like we predicted, they wrapped Kevin's body in a tarp, they bound it, and they stored it in an unused garage at the landscaping company. In the days that followed, their behavior appeared disturbingly casual. Court testimony later suggested they even joked about the failed poisoning attempt. Morgan allegedly making a grim remark about endorsing the tea brand they had used. Like we said, the Snapple iced tea. That's sick, actually. 4 days later, Steve transported Kevin's body to a wooded area. So they stored it in that garage for 4 days.
Wow.
And then they transported it to a wooded area near his former high school. Like, what a dumbass. Where they buried him in a shallow grave. One that had been prepared in advance, probably by Steven, probably with the shovel before he broke it on Kevin's head. Meanwhile, Morgan worked to maintain the illusion that Kevin was still alive. Using Kevin's phone, she sent text messages like we talked about earlier, to family members, friends, and even to herself, creating this narrative that he simply needed to get away. But she overlooked a critical detail: phone location data. And I will say, back in 2010, we really weren't that informed about tracking on the phones like we are now. Like, where now we have Life 360, you can track your kids' phones, you could track, your friends and see where they are. In 2010, that really wasn't a thing. So I really don't think
They
that
knew.
they
Yeah.
knew that you could track a phone. It's not like today where everybody
Yeah.
uses it as like an advantage in your life. Back then, no one knew about it. So it kind of isn't surprising. Like, to us now, it seems stupid how she would have
Right.
his phone here and her phone here and be texting each other. But that's what she did. And they basically captured that data and proved that she had, every time that she sent a text from his phone, her phone received it at the same location.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty much what they got her on.
Yep.
The location, the digital trail. Her story, and this began dismantling the facade that she tried to build, and everything started falling apart now. And it was at this time they had enough on her, and the police arrested Morgan. The tracking data also soon led authorities directly to Kevin's burial site because they brought their phones with them. I mean, Steve, who at this point had fled to Colorado, mind you, we're here in Pennsylvania, he made it all the way to Colorado in Morgan's truck, where they apprehended him out there. He eventually returned to Pennsylvania, where he immediately broke down and confessed to his involvement. He basically confessed to everything.
I mean, at that point, you might as well. So we've got Morgan behind bars now. She attempted to manipulate the narrative again. While waiting trial, get ready for this, guys. Morgan tried to persuade Stephen to take full responsibility for Kevin's murder.
Okay.
So with Kevin, we're lying about being 9 months pregnant. And with Stephen, we are lying about being pregnant with twins. She's trying to tell Stephen that she is pregnant with his twins and tried to manipulate him into taking all the blame, so that way, if he could protect her from prosecution, they could have a future together. I'm trying to figure out how that one works when he's behind the bars and you're not.
Yeah, and like, is he just supposed to take your word for it, Morgan? Like, where's
well, she went a step further, Jenna. Speaking of taking her word for it, because we know she loves to lie, she sent him fabricated birth certificates of these twins that she had. There were no twins. There was no pregnancy, just her sociopathic mind trying to manipulate a situation.
So she took it, not just I'm pregnant, she took it as far as I had the babies, and actually, I don't have a picture of the babies, but I have a picture of their birth certificate.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Did you send him fabricated photos? I mean, really, she could have printed off photos of anything off the internet.
She could have sent him pictures of freaking baby dolls at this point.
Or her kids already, like baby pictures of them. He wouldn't have known. So she's really trying to sell this to him, guys. She is manipulating Stephen till the bitter end to get herself off the hook, because she thinks, well, if he takes all the blame, like, you're not going to get charged as accessory or co-conspirator, at least. Like, in your mind, you think because you weren't the one that hit him over the head that you shouldn't be behind bars. Anyway, it backfired because Stephen ultimately became a key witness for the prosecution. On the stand, he ratted Morgan out. He detailed everything about how their relationship began, how she pursued him, praised him, and then persuaded him to kill Kevin. He even testified about the nicotine solution, the failed attempt, the backup plan, including the shovel. He described burying Kevin behind his former high school and recounted the text messages exchanged before, during, and after the murder. So Stephen is coming clean, despite all this. But wait, there's more, guys. On February 3rd, 2012, the judge declared a mistrial after a police sergeant made a prejudicial comment referencing an interaction with Morgan's father. A statement from the dad suggesting that Morgan was capable of doing something like this. This remark was ruled inappropriate, forcing a retrial. What a waste of everyone's time, money, energy. And again, are we just supposed to fucking forget on a technicality everything that Steven just told us?
It's like hearsay. Just because your dad is saying that, I mean, we could make up anything. I could make up anything I want. I don't understand why you would declare a mistrial because of her father's
hearsay
statement. And it's suggesting. It's not even saying Morgan's done this before or whatever. It's like he's just suggesting, yeah, I mean, I could see it.
It was
then
the police sergeant. Like, he's basically like, well, I interviewed her dad and he made this comment. Isn't that supposed to be objected to in the moment? And I feel like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if her attorney didn't object to it in the moment, you shouldn't have a right to come back later and be like, oh, by the way, we didn't like that comment. We're objecting to it now.
I
And
agree.
There's going to be a whole fucking mistrial over it. Oh my God. It's like what happened with Jay Smith. He got off on a technicality because there was some evidence that the prosecution didn't turn over, which I would argue that's more serious than what happened here. But either way, we're just supposed to wipe all that from our memory banks, aren't we?
Yeah, what a waste of time of everybody.
That doesn't
involved.
change the facts that Steven gave. It didn't change the fact that Jay Smith had Karen Reinhardt's button in his car. We're just supposed to erase that.
No wonder all these criminals are always trying to appeal, because it's, quite frankly, very, very possible that you could get it overturned.
If you push it long enough. So the whole thing went down the drain. The whole trial down the drain. Next year, we're recapping this for next year. We're going to redo the whole thing February 5th, 2013, a year later. And by now, she's 37 years old. She decides to do the right thing and plead guilty. So she pled guilty to first and third degree murder, conspiracy, and possession of a deadly weapon. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 20 years. That part I never can understand. It's like, is her corpse supposed to stay in prison another 20 years? Like, I don't get it.
It's silly. Yeah.
I know. Through a statement read by her attorney, she expressed remorse and acknowledged the pain she caused Kevin's family. I'm at least glad she did that. That's more than what Corey Richins is doing right now. She's going to ride that lie till the bitter end. But this one actually was like, you know what? I'm going to come clean. I'm just going to take the L because I deserve to. And then days later, on February 11th, after she pled guilty, Steven, by now he's 24, he also pled guilty. He admitted to third-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and he was only sentenced to 40 to 80 years in state prison. So he's the one that actually committed the act. I mean, at 24 and 40 years, you could be 64 and maybe eligible for parole if that's how that
what
works.
happened in Pamela Smart's case, that she convinced her student, Billy Flynn, to kill her husband, and Billy and his friends are all out of prison, and she's still in prison. And she's got to be in her late 50s by now.
Honestly, if we're going by that, right, where you're holding the lead conspirator the most accountable, why is Gypsy Rose out? Well, that's different. She was abused by her mother, so that's a little different, I guess. But
that's what they say. Yeah.
That's what they say. So unlike Morgan, Steven addressed the court directly. He expressed deep regrets and stated he would never forgive himself for what he had done. In the end, Kevin Mengel, a father devoted to his children and who desperately wanted to preserve his family, lost his life in a plan orchestrated by the two people he trusted the most. So now, again, like we always say, everyone forgets about the children. They are now growing up without their father, without their mother, and they have to grow up knowing what she did and that she is the reason they don't have an intact family. She is the reason they have been cheated out of having a father in their life. They've been raised by Kevin's parents, and we know, I mean, from what we've read about this family, they seem like an amazing family and that they're going to give those kids the best life. And our heart goes out to the Mengel family. You guys did not deserve this. Neither did the kids. And we hope by telling this story, you know, we're keeping Kevin's memory alive. It's not to glorify what she did, but to show like how messed up of a person she was and how disgusting of a person she was to do this to a man who gave her the world.
Yeah. And I know that Kevin's legacy lives on through his children. And I'm sure that his parents tell them all the stories about their dad and keep him alive through the memories. And the children are in the best hands with the Mengel family, like we said.
Well, that's it from us, and we hope to see you next time on our next deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We have a very interesting one coming from the Lehigh Valley. A little bit older of a case, but this one is going to blow your mind.
You're really going to like it. I'm excited about it.
And for all of our Pennsylvania listeners, we just want to say we really appreciate you. We see you showing up. And if there's any cases you want us to cover from all over the state of Pennsylvania, if we have anyone from Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, let us know what's going on out there, what you want covered, and we will review it.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.